Hi everybody, welcome to Revitalise Meets, where I get the opportunity to meet business owners, business entrepreneurs and key influencers from across the UK business community. And today I've got the great pleasure to be with two gentlemen that are embracing the world of technology right now. They both own and operate Clearsky Logic and have been doing this for just over 3 years right now. Can you welcome today the one and only, well, two of them today actually, Mr. Darren Auld and Mr. Phil Telfer. Phil, Darren, how are you both today?
Yeah, very good, Lee. Nice to meet you.
You too. Thank you very much. So would you mind letting everybody know who are watching and listening today a little bit about Clearsky Logic and the business journey you've been on? Who would like to start?
Yeah, certainly. Okay, I'll go for it. Phil and I started the business just over 3 years ago, and we aim to kind of get tech right for business. We found when we were in our kind of professional careers, working as kind of tech leaders in large energy companies, that lots of people try and kind of outsource tech, and it never goes quite right. It's never on time, it's never on budget, so it's never got the impact needed for your customers. So we started Clearsky to start getting it right for businesses, and it's been a wild ride in the last 3 years since then, wouldn't you say, Phil?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we've seen things go right, we've seen things go wrong. We've got lots of experience kind of building teams, and I think that frustration that you can see when you've got a company that's trying to outsource a problem, they understand their business problem, and they want someone to take that problem and deliver a solution. And we've seen it go wrong so many times, and we've been involved in working with third parties as employees, kind of helping to outsource, and also sort of scrutinizing that process and the solutions that have been proposed by third parties. And so we feel like we're really well placed to kind of take on that role and take on the problems of the clients that we have, and to care about it and to do it properly, and to deliver solutions that just work for businesses.
I mean, you've got a wealth of experience between the two of you, and I mean, you mentioned on there both that you both worked at Spark Energy as well, and this was back in 2014. That was when you worked in that sort of area, and working with different platforms, developers, and also looking at the testers that are capable to bring this tech to the forefront. Technology is extremely important right now, and transformation of the businesses for customers is important as well. So you've got a wealth of experience behind you there. But I want to delve into the achievements and successes that you've had in just this short period of time, because 3 years of starting up a business. So we talk about tripling the business during COVID-19. Could you share a bit more information on that one, how you've achieved that?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, and I guess it's not been an easy time, for us or anyone really, in the last 9 months or so. I guess when everything first kicked off with the situation that's going on, we were almost we were in shock, for the first few weeks, like most people. We didn't know what it meant for us. We put contingency plans in place. But what's really helped me and the business is by looking at more at the core, like why do we do what we're doing? And for me and for Phil as well, it's about helping people, whether it just so happens to be like tech is our superpower, and that help, we can help people with that. So we kind of looked inward, well, this is the perfect time to help more businesses. In the last 9 months, no one's needed to pivot more than they need to pivot now, make businesses happen without physical contact. And most of the projects we've taken on since that time, it has been, things like digital lease building platforms. We're working on a few kind of testing apps at the moment to help the health industry as well. So it's been like almost embracing who we are, so that we can, this is the perfect time for us to help companies.
Brilliant. Would you agree with that, Phil, as well? I mean, how things have been going and how you've achieved that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's certainly not been easy for anybody, but I mean, we are fortunate in that we're in the digital space, and that lots of businesses we've seen have been accelerating their digital projects. So they've been focusing more in digital areas, transacting business away from face-to-face scenarios, and that's our area of expertise. So in creating platforms and putting people together, digitally. So in that respect, we've been very fortunate, and I think that businesses have been much more open to having conversations in those areas, And so the networking that we've been doing and the contacts that we've been making are kind of primed already to think, well, this is the area I need to move my business into. Who can I find that I trust to take on these responsibilities and to push my business in that particular direction? And I guess, you know, we are fortunate in that it's kind of in our favor in that respect. And that, you know, people are working from home. The fact that we are carrying out this this session now remotely, you know, we're in 3 different locations. We don't need to meet. And that's the same for any business now. I mean, people are thinking, well, how can I transact my business in a remote setting? And thinking more along the lines of doing everything like that. And of course, without things like Zoom, you know, people would find it much harder to be, you know, working from home, doing schooling from home, all these kind of things. And so the technology we have now has made this sort of remote working setup, you know, it's made it, you know, a lot easier than it would have otherwise been.
Yeah, I think it's really important, especially the way you've got to embrace change, embrace the technology that you're talking about, and the way it has brought more people together from a wider range of geographies.
Yeah.
You know, it has opened up many areas. You talk about My Booking Hub, and I wanted to touch on base with that from your achievements and successes. How has that been success in innovating in the UK right now for funding it? What's been the thought behind that, My Booking Hub?
So it's been quite a long-term ambition of the company to not only provide services to build, you know, mobile apps or platforms or websites, that sort of thing, but also bring our own products to the market. And so that's where the My Booking Hub idea really came from. And we've been talking to a couple of kind of close contacts in the kind of mobile service industry. And they were basically saying there was no solution for them to automatically take bookings. So it gets in the way of scaling their businesses. You know, think of the mobile car valeting industry, for example. It's very difficult to, you know, go on a website and book your car to get valeted on Saturday morning. And the complexities around that are all to do with the valeters moving between different locations and having enough time in their diary to fulfill that. So it's not like a booking system at a hairdresser, for example, where the hairdresser doesn't go anywhere, so they can't get stuck in, you know, traffic. And so it came out of that problem, and we thought, well, how would we best solve this? And it's really at that point we got the team together, solution architects or designers, and we started working out, you know, could a prototype be possible here? And you know, we strongly believe in it, and so we applied towards the Innovate UK funding rounds that's been going on this year. And we only found out in October that we'd won funding in the round, so it's quite a substantial investment, and it'll bring that product to market much faster by having that. So it's a real opportunity, not just for us, but also that whole industry that really needs, you know, almost like a shot in the arm of efficiency. Like, you don't need one person doing all your bookings for you while everyone else does your services. You know, it can be done automatically 24/7. And I guess the frustrations in that type of industry as well, like, even looking at tradespeople that move around residential kind of locations doing their work, it just seems so, you know, antiquated that, you know, if I want a joiner, I have to go and find their email or phone them. They're probably at a job already. They don't have time to talk to me. So I'll probably phone them 4 or 5 times. It takes them like 2 weeks to get them booked in, and then they might show up or might not. It's very manual. So we're looking to really disrupt that scenario and bring really kind of, you know, an innovative tech solution to the market.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really important you got that one. And as well, you've learned, we talked about as well, that word that people use all the time is pivot. You know, pivot all the time, but you have pivoted the technology to entrepreneurs across the board. And really congratulations on the funding as well, because in this time right now, to get that to expand and to grow the business is extremely important. So really congratulations on that for both of you and for the team going forward. We talk a lot about diversification. We talk about how we've embraced the change since wonderful times prior to March. How have you both sort of embraced the change yourselves individually or as a business, and really got hold of the reins and pushed forward with Clearsky Logic? Would you mind sharing that with everybody?
Yeah, I mean, it's been obviously a very challenging time for everybody. I think that once you sort of started out with a business, it becomes a kind of momentum that you kind of you almost have to just kind of go with it. You know, you start something, you create commitments to clients, and you know, we feel that we need to honor those commitments. And so, you know, there's a sort of a bedrock there of responsibility that we have to clients, and we need to help them to keep moving, because we, you know, help them operationally and strategically. And we also want to bring in additional expertise so we can offer them other things and help them out. And that's what it's all about. It's like building this kind of team, you know, one by one, bringing in these really great people. And we've got lots of experience in recruiting and building teams from the past, but building that team sort of ourselves. And every person you bring in, who sort of brings a facet of experience. Maybe they've got a particular specialism, they've got certain experience, and everyone's got, you know, different experience, whether they're younger or older or whatever their backgrounds are. I think that's one of the really great things I've found about, you know, growing a business, is being able to grow a team with different skills and with different people, and it becoming this thing that's sort of larger than the sum of its parts. And it has its own sort of momentum. And you've got a responsibility to, so that you've got a responsibility to your clients, you've also got a responsibility to your employees to, you know, keep their well-being at the core of what you're doing as well. So I think these things just have a life of their own. And I feel, you know, personally, that I just have a need to help to keep this thing moving, because it's not just me, it's not just Darren, it's larger than that. There's a whole team of people, and there's a whole bunch of clients who are depending on us. And it's just something you need to kind of keep pushing forward through adversity, and just keep, you know, pressing on. And that's just the journey that we've decided to embark on, and you can't just stop it now.
No, you can't stop. Once you start rolling it, it's got to keep the momentum going. You cannot stop the sort of journey as such. Would you add anything to that, Darren, at all, from diversifying your business moving forward, especially with team perspective as well? Because you mentioned team a lot, both yourself and Phil.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. I guess for me this year, I don't know if it's been a self-imposed working from home for all these months, but it's a lot of kind of reflection and bringing more focus into the team. And that focus has really opened doors for us. You know, it meant that at the same time as applying for Innovate UK funding, we could be growing the teams and winning new clients. And that's all about kind of delegating. And we've got a really, really strong team of kind of senior people in the business. You know, you mentioned Kimberly there, who handles kind of client engagement. We've also brought in some really fantastic talent this year. We've got Adam Steen, who used to be at the train line, for 10 years. So really kind of strong project management experience, but and just delegating, you know, all these people know how to do their jobs way better than I know how to do their job. So I really believe in our team, and you know, and if it's not going right, then getting to the bottom of it, you know, as well. That's another thing. Don't just ignore it. Like if you're building a team and something's not right, and you've got something niggling at your gut, there's probably a reason for it, and it's best to address it early on. To which we've always really done, and it's always better on the other side of making difficult decisions in that kind of area. So yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks, Darren. Thanks, Phil. Appreciate that. In regards to moving on, actually, it moves in quite nicely there, because I like to ask all my guests to Revitalise meet about a top tip for business. And we've mentioned that before, and you're very kind. We were discussing this or shared a bit of information prior to today's call. And you've actually talked about it briefly just in there, where you diversified it and worked with a team. But one of the words was delegate. So would you mind sharing with everybody out there now, what would be your top tip? So if you could cast your mind back 3 years ago and you could speak to yourself, what would you tell your 3-year-old younger selves, excuse for that, 3 years ago? How would you tell them to have, and to share with business entrepreneurs out there that they're just looking to start their business?
There's so many things actually, but the things that come to mind, are the sort of the just go and do it, just start. I don't mean throw everything to one side and then just, you know, throw yourself at any problem, but if you can start in parallel with something else, so if you're able to start something in parallel with, you know, employment, and so you keep a wage coming in, and obviously that's good to sort of, you know, hedge your bets, but to actually start, I think, because if you don't start, you're not going to learn, you're not going to get better. And you need to get better, because you're probably not good enough now. You're going to need to have setbacks. You'll need to fail to learn how to do things properly. because you'll need to have a lot broader skill set than you currently have now. So, myself coming from a technical and management background, I was not experienced in running a business. So there's a lot of things I've had to learn and get better at. I'm still learning and getting better at them. And then, so, it's a big journey. So I think, if you don't start, you're not going to get better. As you've said, delegate. So if you can bring somebody in who can do a particular role, in a more specialist way than you can, then bring them in, even if it's on a part-time basis. You don't necessarily need to bring people in full time. There's a big sort of gig economy out there. You can look at, someone doing a piece of work for you for a fixed price. You can look at someone coming in for a few hours a week or a day a week. You can look at, pulling in expertise from outside. There's a huge network of entrepreneurs also helping each other. And you mentioned before about, your own network and around people who are kind of, solopreneurs, if you like, who need someone to keep them in check and say, well, have you met these goals? Are you, what's your target? And all those sort of things. And having a business partner like myself and Darren, it's a huge help, I think, to me, to have Darren, who's on the same page, got the same vision, and that's a massive help, and that's not something that everybody can have. I think other than that, then one of the big things is that people think of being an entrepreneur as being a hugely risky thing. I would actually counter that and say I think having a job is more risky than being an entrepreneur, because as an entrepreneur you're kind of more in control. You're able to spread your business across multiple clients. So and if one of those clients or even all of those clients decide to fold at the same time, and this has happened to us, so we know, you can still kind of rise above it. You can still carry on. If you have a job, those things come to you and you find out on the day that you're made redundant and you have to respond to it there and then. And maybe you've built your whole life around that particular location, that particular job. You find yourself in a very difficult situation. So I think that, in terms of the risk, it's actually less risky to be, in a business on your own.
100%. Thanks, Phil. Would you add anything to that, Darren, at all? Or
I guess my tip would be that perfect doesn't exist. A perfect time to start a business or a perfect product, a perfect solution. Even if you think it's perfect, it's not, and it'll go wrong. But you keep moving forward and keep learning out of it. It's all part of the journey. You won't be the same person that you were at the start of your journey. For in a lot of good ways, and a lot of challenging ways as well. But yeah, I think that's probably mine.
I'll agree with that, because I mean we talk about it quite regularly. Is that many people we talked about prior to coming on the call today was that people procrastinate on thinking about doing it, or I'll leave it till tomorrow, or other people tell you not to do it. But until you do it, you don't know if it's going to work or not. And it might not work right the first time. You've got to amend it. You've got to adjust it. You've got to keep pushing on it. And it's true what you say, Darren, you will be different within a 3-year, 4-year, 5-year time. And the same with Phil. I mean, I love that about having the right amount of people around you to support you. Surround yourself with key players who can actually lift you up when you need to be lifted up and held accountable when you need to be held accountable, especially when you've got business partners involved as well. So some great shares in there from both of you. Thank you very much for doing that. So with everything we spoke about with top tips and achievements and your business in general, what's next for Clearsky Logic? What's the next step for you two? What does it look like next year? Because we're very close to 2021, by the way.
Well, I think the next thing really is growth. It's a difficult thing to get right. It's going from a very small business, so it's starting with 2 people and having 3 and 4. That's a very different position to be in than now. We've got a team of 15, and we're looking at growing, and that could, that could possibly double over the next 12 months. And you can't operate a business of that size in the same way you'd operate it as a small size. So I think that is one of the big challenges that's coming up. And it's not something that we've done before. So, we're bound to get some things wrong, but we're taking some advice. We're going to, we realize it's a journey. We realize we need to be looking ahead, 6 months at least, and saying, well, what is the business going to look like in 6 months' time? And not be entirely consumed by operational processes now, to keep sort of stepping back from operational goings on and delegating that, and then looking, and that frees you up to then look ahead and to sort of design the future, rather than the future sort of come along and just sort of, you know, punch you in the face and you just have to respond to it. You know, it's like to try and, you know, push that out and say, this is how it's going to be, and to plan for it and to make it work in the way you want it to. I think that's the challenge for the next 6 to 12 months at least. Brilliant,
thank you. Do you have anything to that, Darren, at all, or is there anything that you're thinking what's next for you and Phil? And
yeah, certainly. Yeah, I guess, you know, Phil's completely right there. Growth. We grew so fast this year. I'm sure we'll be knocking on 20 people, you know, like Q1, 2021. But I think it's also to understand what's on the other side of the current situation, you know, with the industry and the economy. I think it's going to be a boom time after. I'm pretty optimistic about it. So, you know, we're going to be ready and waiting to help, you know, many more businesses. It's all about that helping. You know, I want to help as many businesses as we can to be the best businesses they can possibly be, and avoid all the pitfalls that we've seen along the way. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
I think one of the things you've both mentioned to me about the unique selling point to Clearsky Logic as well is the word of mouth. Is the word of mouth that you've looked after those clients, and then they tell the story about how they're being looked after by you, being felt like it's a personal touch. It's making them feel welcome, supported, encouraged, and that growth that you get. And so word of mouth is one of the big things that you mentioned as a unique selling point for yourselves, and especially what I see is going forward next for yourselves into the next quarter for the next business.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's only so far you can go with word of mouth, but it is really important when you've got someone who you've done a good job for. It's if they can shout about it, you know, and they can tell, you know, 2 or 3 people. I guess it's a bit like COVID, you know, people talk about the R number. We want the R number to kind of increase in terms of the good news being spread about us.
Yeah. Getting raving fans, people that speak about you quite regularly and say, listen, you got to speak to the gents at Clearsky Logic and their team and what they can do for you. So thank you very much. If anyone's watching and listening today, how can they make contact with Phil Telfer and Mr. Darren Auld? How can they make contact with you, grab a virtual cup of coffee and start the conversation? What's the first port of call to get in touch with you?
Well, you can find us both on LinkedIn. So the usual search methods on there. You can look at our company page, or you can go to clearskylogic.com and you can fill in a contact form. You can create a calendar invite, and you can speak to Kimberly, who's our business development person. So there's a number of different ways, yeah. And we'd be happy to speak to anybody who's interested.
Absolutely superb. Thank you very much. And I want to say a big thank you to you both for spending the time this morning with us at Revitalise Meets. And I really wish you all the very best for the future, and the first quarter of 2021 will come out and the sunshine will be glaring for us when we start the new year next year. Correct?
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
Definitely, without a doubt. Thank you very much to everybody who's been watching and listening today, and we look forward to welcoming you all back to the next Revitalise Meets, where I get the opportunity to meet wonderful business entrepreneurs, sole entrepreneurs, and key influencers from across the UK business community. For myself, Phil, and Darren, have a wonderful rest of the week. Keep safe, and as always, stay healthy, and remember, keep connecting. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye for now.